Well, I have a question to start things off. Have any of you been good and lost? I mean really lost, because I'm a guy, I've never been lost before. And I just want to know what it feels like. What does it feel like to be lost? It may look like I'm sightseeing or not knowing where I'm going, but I kind of always find my way. And in this world, it so oftentimes comes up that we really are lost. Who do we go to when we have big decisions to make? Which way are we going with our careers or our education? How do we handle the situations with our family? How do we make the right choices at work? When we're tempted, what do we do? There are so many ways that we can get lost in this jungle that we live in. And as colleges begin to teach and as the world around us begins to change, we have this idea of relativism where there is no right way. Just take whatever path allows you to feel good. Just go wherever you want to go. Just go down wherever you want to go. And in this way of living, we can get very lost. We don't know where true north is. We don't know what direction is right. And we find ourselves huddled, knee-deep in it, not knowing where to go. Well, today we're going to be learning from another parable of Jesus about the Pharisee and the tax collector. And in this parable, Jesus begins to teach us how we find our way in this world. I brought this compass with me, and I had been issued one very similar to this one when I was in South Korea in the military. One of the drills that was part of my training is that they would drop me in a certain part of the wilderness, let's just say, I want to make it simple, wilderness, and they would give me a compass, a map, and so much time to get where I needed to go in order to pass. And with this compass, I was able to find which direction was north and east and west and south. And it was very helpful to me, and it always imprinted upon me a compass, how important it is to set our direction. But not only is it important to know where true north is, this only tells me magnetic north, it's also important to have a fixed point in order for us to find where we are. Just knowing which way is north doesn't help me. I need to know where I am so that I can travel in the right direction. I need to have a fixed point that I know for sure never changes, that I can look at and see how far away I am or how close I am, and then set my course based upon the compass. Today I'd like us to think of this compass as we look at our lesson. I'd like to argue that north is God. True north is God. He is that fixed point that we always know will be there, that is never changing, that is all-powerful and always will be there in our life. And I'd like us to think of south as ourselves. South being when we focus upon us, when we depend upon us, when we lean on our own power to make it, to find our way. And so let us continue today and learn from the parable, because we truly need to find how we can stay fixed upon God by following a few ways that He's taught us. Because truly we need to find our way, and the first way that we can stay fixed upon God and stay true north is by walking away from ourselves, realizing that we are flawed, we are corrupted, we are not righteous, we are not the fixed point, we cannot guide ourselves. We read in Luke 18, 9 through 14 as we begin in our parable today. To some who were confident of their own righteousness and looked down on everybody else, Jesus told this parable. 2 men went up to the temple to pray, one a Pharisee and the other a tax collector. The Pharisee stood up and prayed about himself. God, I thank you that I am not like other men, robbers and evildoers, adulterers, but especially like this tax collector. I fast twice a week and give 1/10 of all I get. Which way is his needle pointing? That was easy, wasn't it? It's easy to see when a person isn't pointing toward God. You see, with this Pharisee, it was about what he was doing. It was about his strength, his power, what he was saying, what he was doing. The needle was completely pointed toward him. He was his fixed point. He was where he needed to be. This is me. And yet so many of us, including myself, seem to depend on our own selves and think that it is about us and what we're doing that will save us, that will guide us, that will keep us. Even though in Scriptures it tells us over and over and over again, that is not the case. Isaiah 64:6, all of us have become like one who is unclean, and all our righteous acts are like filthy rags. We all shrivel up like a leaf. Like the wind, our sins sweep us away. And that is what it looks like so often in our lives and the world around us. We get swept away by the world. Just like in the children's sermon when I put the magnet around this compass, it began to spin. There are so many distractions in the world. There are so many ways that we can get lost and think we're facing north, think we're doing the right thing, but we're really just serving ourselves. And when we read it in other people, like this Pharisee, we go, he's not pointing toward God. What an idiot. But so oftentimes we get swept up in it ourselves and we're blown away. Romans 3:22 through 23. There is no difference, for all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. The first way we can stay fixed upon the Lord is to realize we can't depend upon ourselves. We have to step away from ourselves. We cannot be needful upon our own strength. We must begin a path towards something else, which is our second way we can stay fixed upon God. It is to follow where God is at work. We must follow God. That is the way where we can find true north. We must follow on where God is, where He's active in our lives and in the world around us. We must, again, fix to the north. We must fix upon God, and in that way we begin to take the steps in the right direction. We continue in the parable, Luke 18:13 through 14. But the tax collector stood at a distance. He would not even look up to heaven, but beat his breast and said, God, have mercy on me, a sinner. I tell you that this man, rather than the other, went home justified before God. For everyone who exalts himself will be humbled, and he who humbles himself will be exalted. Which way was the needle pointing with this tax collector? Was it pointed toward him or was it pointed toward God? He was driven to the altar to find true north. He was driven to a God to help him. There was nothing he offered. I mean, come on. What can we really give to God that He needs? Money? Stuff? What can we really bring to God that would make us right and clean again? There is nothing. And this sinner was driven out of desperation. He knew what he was. He knew where he was, and he needed to go the right way, and he saw God. He saw true north and collapsed at the altar and says, I can't even approach you. I am so unworthy. But help me. Help me, God. Have mercy on me. That is pointing north. That is seeking Him and God and where He is, and not focusing upon ourselves. It's where the needle belongs.